My name is Mistress Seneca, and I am a mistress, a dominant, and my kink is throwing fantastic events.
How did your kink start for you? I know we talked about it a little bit.
Well, I got into the events specifically because when we moved to Philadelphia, I couldn't find any BDSM dungeons the quality of which I had back in California. Like, I moved from California over here about 16 years ago and started doing events about 14 years ago. And it was purely because I tried and I tried and I tried to go out to parties, but no one would talk to us. Me and my friend, Sub Miss Ann, would go out all dressed to the nines, latex, and no one would talk to us. And we would try every 6 months when she came into town to attempt to go out again. And on the third time, a nice trans woman said, "Are you on FetLife?" And we're like, "What's FetLife?" Because in California, we had events that we went out to and we met people at. And out here, that was just absent. So I started doing events because I wanted the quality of events that I enjoyed actually to exist. And so, they say, like, be the change you want to be in the world. Do the change you want to be in the world. Whatever. And so I started throwing parties. And they are a mixture of kink and swinger. So they're sex positive, they're kinky, they're edgy, and the play is just a lot more at my parties than a lot of the other events in the city, because people feel more friendly and welcoming, and just like the entire environment is managed there for you to do edgy activities, knife play and breath play and interrogations and waterboarding if you want, Roman wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, like whatever it is that you're into, you can do it at my events as long as it's within the realms of the rules of that particular party. And my parties have rules, but they're meant to be rules that enhance the party rather than distract from it. So it's all based off of safety. And my ambassadors of love are the people that, help me put on these parties, and they are my hospitality in a form that I can just welcome everyone, because I can't physically talk to all 100 people that come to my events.
So you talk about your events. What was your first kink event that you threw, and how did it kind of go for you? Were you nervous, excited? The kind of things you saw when you were in there, were they things you expected? Were you excited to see people enjoying themselves?
My first kink event that I went to was at the Layer de Sade in Los Angeles. And it was overwhelming at first. I walked in there by myself and very nervous, kind of scared, not sure what to expect. And a woman approached me going like, "I don't recognize you. Is this your first time here?" And I said, "Yes, it was." And she goes, "Come on, I'll show you around." And so she introduced me to a number of people. And by the end of the night, I knew like a half a dozen people really well. And I didn't even know their proper names, and that was fine. Whatever they introduced themselves at is what I called them, and that was perfect. There wasn't FetLife where you meet people online and then meet up with them in events. You went to the event and you met people. And so that was like such an eye-opening experience. I saw people in bondage and ropes and chains and screaming in ecstasy. And it was perfect. It was just perfect. It was where I wanted to be. And it was what I wanted to do for, I don't know, I guess the rest of my life, in there somewhere, whether I'm actually hosting an event or someone else. I don't want to actually miss out on that type of opportunity again.
What is your favorite memory from a kink event?
Ooh.
Or your lifestyle? Like one when people ask you about kink, you think about this fondly.
There's been so many events and experiences. And I would say probably my most memorable are those scenes that just go over the top. One of which was someone had done a hook suspension scene at the Laird Sod, and suspending from the hooks and then being swung on those hooks. It was like, wow. I have only seen similar things at Native American sun dances, when the piercings get ripped out of the flesh. This was the only thing similar, but it was done not in a religious way. You didn't have to spend 3 days of fasting and dancing to get there. They did it with a progressive relaxation, focus and intention, and then the hooks went in and the sharp intake of breath as the pain is hitting them. And then as soon as it was done, it's the relaxing into it. And I will never forget that, because that was when I realized, oh, masochism is actually a real thing. And that was the first time that I had come to that realization. I'm like, okay, well, pain, you're tolerating it because you're doing it for the dominant. But no, this was like, he really, really enjoyed the pain. And that was the most eye-opening part about it.
What was your worst memory or experience in this lifestyle? Like one that you either worry about happening again or it was just eye-opening?
I would say the worst was not, it was worst for me personally, because as an event organizer, there's a lot of things that you have to do behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, there's negotiations, there's contracts with venues, there's staffing and food and drinks and all of that. And I would have to say the worst experience I had was working with a dungeon here in Philadelphia called the Owl's Nest. And while the place is great if you're attending, to host an event there is a nightmare. It was so type A, so rules for the reason of no reason, arbitrary rules, no rhyme to it, a list of so many rules that I couldn't even possibly give the entire list to my people that were attending the party. While the party went fantastically and everything was fine, by the end of the night, the proprietor of the venue was complaining to me so much about tiny little things every time that mattered not. And so by the end of the night, I was so frustrated that I was in the parking lot doing parking lot duties because I just didn't want to hear them complain again. So that was by far the worst experience I've had as an organizer.
Okay. How do you tell your partners about your kinky lifestyle? Are they in the lifestyle? Are they vanilla? Like, how do you kind of navigate that?
When I was with a vanilla person, my kinks, I wear them on my sleeve. There's really no way around it. Yeah, if you're hanging around me long enough, you'll know at some point that I used to own a human pony cart, and that I do these events, and that I would love to chase you around my house with my paddle. But the way I usually bring that on is that I will give them kind of a little bit of a test, is that I will say, well, do you know what kink is? And they'll say, you mean like bendy things? I'm like, no, like BDSM. And, in more recent times, they'll say like 50 Shades of Grey. I'm like, it's not 50 Shades of Grey, but it's in that neighborhood, if you take out the abuse. So I'll just basically bring it up point blank. Do they know about it? And if they don't, then I'll kind of tread carefully. All my partners for the last 25 years, I suppose, have been kinky in some way. It's either they're into servicing me, they want to dedicate their life to helping me do something, to making me happy to, washing my feet, things like that. Or they want to be my dominant. And I don't take dominance. I am a dominant myself. And while I do switch, I only switch with one person, and then that is my primary partner. And we've been together for 16 years. So there is no way that I will be submissive to anyone else, because I don't think that anyone else could really get me out of my head. As a dominant, when I play with someone, I'm really concentrating so much on their experience, like how they're feeling, how they're sensing things, how their mind is thinking about things, what state of hypnotic suggestibility are they in, what types of elements am I bringing in, am I doing any sort of mind fucks with this, am I doing vampire scenes that I love, the partners that I choose usually either choose me and then I approve of them because I have no lack of suitors, or someone has just been very, very special, and that specialness of that person is what attracts me to them. My partner and I are poly, so I have had other partners while we've been together, but it's really just about them being special, or they just want to serve me.
How have you navigated the poly lifestyle? Do you have ever any insecurities on either one of your ends?
Absolutely. I would say that I would not say that I do poly very well, because I do get very insecure about, other partners of his that I don't know. It's really, if I know the person, then I know their heart, and I'm fine with them. It's just when I don't know the person, I think that maybe they're trying to steal my partner away or occupy all their time, or anything like that. The voices that you get in your head are just trying to be compersive with your partner, and I don't do it very well.
How do you navigate it? Like, what are some things? Do you communicate to him when you're feeling like that?
Communication is key. I communicate. I also have a checklist that I give myself. The checklist is this person a threat to me? Are my feelings valid? If my feelings are not valid, then how can I justify having the feeling? And so that usually allows me to kind of calm down enough to really see the situation for what it is. This is just a play partner. This is just another partner. This is just a lover. This is not really someone that's wanting to grow up with us. And that's really what I'm more possessive about, is the growing up with my partner and us being together. Anything that, interrupts that would really be a detriment. And so if I realize that this person is not wanting my partner that way, they're not wanting to be their primary, I'm not being pushed out in any way, then I feel better. And it's just about rationalizing it to myself and trying to give myself this checklist, like trying to justify what I'm feeling and give myself a bit of logic to it, because emotions are not logical whatsoever. And once you add logic to it, then it kind of calms down the emotions.
Do you ever meet your partners before they intermingle, or is it like they meet them and then they're like, I kind of like this person, I'm going to bring her around or him around? How does that go for you guys?
Usually what happens is my partner meets someone else at one of my parties.
Okay.
or at a munch or something like that. And so we always tend to meet the same person around the same time. And I can tell when he's really into them because he just keeps showing them things. Like, oh, here's my sculptures, here's my things, here's my cat, here's my thing. Like, I recognize that as just like one of his steps to like getting to know someone really well that he's interested in. And so I recognize that, and then I have a talk with him about like, okay, well, do you want to date this person? And then we set rules and boundaries around whatever that relationship is going to be.
Do different relationships have different rules and boundaries?
Yes.
How do you decipher who gets what bounds and rules?
It's how well I know that person.
Okay, so back to what you already said.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I know that person very well, then there is very little rules because I trust them. But if I don't know that person well, then I will be super cautious, and there will be a lot more rules.
Are there any rules currently, or have there ever been where they have to play with you around, or be the only time your partner's allowed to see them is when you're present?
No, nothing like that. There's been times of where the major thing is don't get this person pregnant. Because if you get this person pregnant, I am gone.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a huge thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do either one of you have a breeding kink?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay. How do you navigate that? Do you have the same rule? Like when you're sleeping with somebody else that's not your primary partner?
I only do the kink with my partner.
Okay.
I don't do the breeding kink with my partner, and I have birthed 3 children. So I have my son, which is from my former marriage, and then I have 2 children that I delivered as a surrogate. So I was able to get that breeding kink without having the baby to manage and have no guilt over it. So he was there with me through 2 pregnancies. So it was kind of a hot time.
Okay. Now, when you were being a surrogate mother, was it intravenously, or did you have sex with somebody? Okay.
No, it was all clinically based.
Okay.
But they are my children. It was my eggs.
Yes.
But yeah, it's all clinic.
Okay. Have you ever told somebody your lifestyle and they didn't approve?
I have told many religious fanatics about my lifestyle and have gone with disapproving looks and complaints. And I just say, turn up the heat in here. I'm acclimated to the climate of hell.
That's a nice one. Like potential partners, like maybe vanilla people that you've met and been interested in, and you're like, no.
No, not really, because by the time they have passed enough gates to get to actually be of consideration, we've already established that they have at least a passing curiosity.
Okay. What is the most kinkiest thing you've ever done yourself and enjoyed?
Kinkiest thing.
Like out of the box. Like we see the paddles, we see you spoke about the vampire-ness, which is now, are you sucking blood out of somebody?
No, I don't do the blood play.
Okay.
It's basically like biting, but there's no piercing of the skin. All of the traits about a vampire, the growl, the snarling, when I have fingernails, the raking of the skin. So it's very sensual and also very primal. And that's one thing that I really enjoy. But let's see, kinkiest thing.
Like an inordinary one.
I guess if you could say, like an unusual kink, I would say sploshing is probably one of my big ones.
What is sploshing?
Sploshing is being covered in food.
Okay.
So, you can't do sploshing for very long. The smell of sugar tends to kind of turn your stomach after a while. But getting into a kiddie pool and having chocolate syrup poured on you, rubbing it on your body, baked beans, sitting on cakes, bathtub full of Fruit Loops and milk, and it's great for photos. I love taking photos while I'm splashing.
What is the best food to splash in and the worst food to splash in?
Best food to splash in would probably be whipped cream, because it makes your skin feel so nice afterwards. And the worst to splash in would be baked beans, because you find those beans in other places that you weren't really expecting them.
I bet. I've never heard of anybody covering themselves in baked beans on purpose, I'll have to admit.
Splashing is a very English fetish.
Okay.
So they've got magazines called Splosh. And so the baked beans is like a English breakfast.
Okay.
You know, so baked beans and toast and, you know.
Yeah. What is your favorite type of event, other than the ones you've hosted, that you've gone to all over the country? What is, like, your favorite type, whether it be BDSM or, like, theater or, like...
Oh, just like events in general?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I love geek events. Okay. So I do the Dragon Con every year, and I used to do the San Diego Comic-Con every year before that. I did a run of 13 years with San Diego Comic-Con, and so now I think we're up to 8 years for Dragon Con. And it is our annual vacation and our anniversary party every time, and I absolutely love it. It's really a convention where it's by and for geeks, so you have people dressed in cosplay, like more than I'd ever seen at any other convention, Dragon Con. It has a bunch of stuff, but I would not say that really any of it is kinky. There used to be more kink stuff at Dragon Con After Dark, but they've been getting rid of that for more family-friendly programming. So it's a little bit odd there. Other than Dragon Con, I would say that drive-ins are my second favorite events.
Drive-ins?
Drive-ins.
Like the movie theater kind
yes.
of thing. And you make those kinky?
Well, I have before.
Okay.
I have before, and if I'm parked in the back, well, then kinks are happening, even though no one else knows.
There you go. If you could change one thing about the kink lifestyle, what would it be?
I would change that people feel so goddamn shameful over it. Because it is fear that keeps people going that I can't tell my best friend of 40 years that I'm kinky, even though he's probably also kinky and hasn't told you because he's afraid of telling you. Like, if people just open up and be honest with each other, and not have so much shame over the things that they like, then it would probably make everyone a lot more happier. Just because then they can tell their best friends, their cousins, their, and coworkers, and not really have to worry. I find here on the East Coast that there's a lot of people more worried about being outed than anything, and it's just not a valid worry. You're more likely to be outed by your ex-lover, an ex-wife, ex-husband, than you are going to meet anyone in the scene. Like, there's just a lot of fear and shame over it. And I wish people would get over that, because sex is natural and humans are kinky and adaptable. And I do say that hell cannot exist because humans will fetishize anything.
That is true. How do you navigate going up and talking to someone, and how do you prefer somebody new comes up and talks to you or introduces themselves?
I prefer if they introduce themselves while I'm not in the middle of doing something, like a scene. But as for like how I approach someone, I will observe the situation, see if they're engaged in something that I'm not privy to. So like maybe they have orders to stand there and wait for their dominant, and you just kind of have to observe to make sure that they are available to talk to. And I will Generally, there's two openings, and this is what works in California and how I advise people here, is that there's two natural openings for conversation. One, oh my God, you look fantastic. Oh, what is that? Is that, oh my God, that's wonderful. You wear it perfectly. Hi, I'm Mistress. Or they're like right after a couple plays, and after their aftercare, and they're coming back into a socializing mode. You say, oh, that scene was amazing. You two were so into it. It's a lovely scene. Oh my God. Hi, I'm Mistress. That's my preferred way, and that's how I advise people to seek out those two spots if they feel kind of awkward otherwise.
What is the worst way to approach somebody or you, other than like interrupting a scene?
Hey, baby.
Like the most basic cat call.
Yeah. Someone won't stop calling me baby. They're not going to be invited to my events. I vet everyone that comes to my sex positive parties, and if they can't behave themselves on a Zoom call with me, then they're not going to behave themselves at a party. So it is the casual misogyny that will get you kind of right out of my party. I consider that being insulted.
How many people typically attend one of your parties?
I sell out events constantly, so my max capacity is about 100 and... Well, I set it at 100, and then I usually kind of expand that a bit, so this last one was 130 people.
That's great. And is it mixed of like single people, partnered,
oh yeah,
up people?
I attract a wide spectrum of people. There's since my parties are 21 and over, because alcohol is served, BYOB, we have people that are like from 21 to 26, maybe about 10%, and then 55 to 70, another 10%. And then large chunks of people between the ages of 27 to 35 and 40 to 50. Usually in the kink scene, you have like an 8-year window for people to actually be involved with the scene before they have to leave for something else. So you'll get involved with the scene, and then you get married and you have kids. And then you have to stop doing kink for a while because the kids are too young, and you can't leave them with a sitter and stuff like that. And then after they're old enough, they come back to the scene. And it's typically around 8 years old. The kids are well and fine to be on their own with a family member, with a babysitter, and they feel comfortable enough to return. And then at some point they have to leave again because they have a parent or family member that they have to take care of. So, right around the late 30s, early 40s, perhaps sometimes later, you'll see a chunk of them leave again because they have to attend to family matters. Family always comes first. And so they'll leave and then come back afterwards. And then right after divorce, a lot of people come back after divorce. So you get that chunk too. So at my parties, there's a wide range of ages, wide range of ethnicities, wide range of interests. So at this last event, you saw people using a fuck machine, being tied up in a ballerina pose, being put into vacuum beds, and being used as a human piñata. So piñata costume and all. So there's a wide range of just everything in between.
What would you say are the top 3 rules to kink in a kink scene?
To kink.
Consent is key.
Yes.
But
yeah, enthusiastic consent. Everything must be consensual. So that has to be negotiated, whatever you're doing. Know what your own boundaries are and stick to those boundaries. You don't want the excitement of a BDSM party to make yourself flexible and then you regret doing something that you didn't want to do before you arrived. So you know your boundaries and stick to your boundaries. Also, that goes with your partners as well. So if you're going with a partner or someone that you care about, make sure that you've talked about your boundaries and that you're not going to go past those. regardless of how fun and exciting and new people and everything that there is. And then I would say that a common rule would be to, I guess it would be kind and compassionate. Those are like my values, but being kind and compassionate covers a lot in kink. You know, it's being compassionate is like if someone suddenly breaks down crying and even they don't know why, you have to be compassionate because you might not know why, but they're going through something. And understanding that everyone is going through a little bit here and there in the kink scene really softens a lot of like social managing. Like you can get very far in life by just being kind and courteous and compassionate to people without really stepping over anything and having to state like you must do this. Like no, as long as you're kind, compassionate, and courteous, everything tends to work out.
What would you suggest for somebody just trying to get into kink or just going and thinking about going to an event for the first time? What do you suggest they do or mentally prepare themselves for?
I would say to start off small. Go to a munch, you know, go to a social gathering of kinky people to just kind of test the waters and get to know some people in a more casual setting. Going straight into a kink party is like diving into the deep end. It's drinking from the fire hose. It is, at least with my events, it's kind of like you just stepped into a movie. And so the wildness that you see in movies, that could be my event. And a newbie going in, they tend to have their eyes as big as dinner plates because they don't know where to look or where they can look. And so I would say that going to a munch or something that's more casual would be a little bit of an easier time than just diving in. But as long as the event itself has an eye towards newbies, like they're doing something to foster newbie relationships, then it should be fine. You know, a lot of the events around here are very dedicated to making sure the newbies get at least like some sort of guidance.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about the kink lifestyle?
Kink to me is being honest with yourself. And you can have a kink for anything, including like popping bubble wrap. As long as you have an intense interest, it doesn't necessarily need to be sexual for that to be an interest, a kink interest. Kink doesn't have to be sexual, or it can be entirely sexual. It is wildly variant as individual as you are. And so being honest with yourself, honest with everyone else, and, you know, just kind of indulging a little bit, I think is good for everyone. And find your community. Your community is around you. It certainly is. Even if they have been too afraid to talk to you about it, it's there. So if you're open and willing to talk, perhaps more people will be open and willing to talk with you. So yeah, I'd say that kink community is special because we do share these interests, but it's also special because I find that it's just more honest. And honesty is really the best policy, isn't it?
Very true, very true. If somebody wanted to find out more about your parties or
Sure.
come to one, how could they find out more or purchase a ticket?
Sure. All my advertising is done through word of mouth and through my mailing list. So you can go to elegantlykinky.com and sign up to my mailing list. I also have an Instagram, Elegantly Kinky, and FetLife account, Elegantly Kinky. You can find me anywhere from Elegantly Kinky. And just sign up with the mailing list, and I send out information on events when I actually host them. You can friend me on all the social medias by finding me with Elegantly Kinky.
Well, thank you very much for your time and talking with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.